So hello again. This is Roger Koch-Barr for the Bioelectricity course. This segment is for week one, and it is the third lecture in the week one series. I thought it might be interesting and useful to look at the various weeks of the whole course here in the first week, so you have an idea of what is coming up and why that's of interest. First week, the week we're in now, talks about some items of background, as you know. In a little bit, it talks about a topic called rectification of names, which you might think of as terminology, but it involves how things are called. How things are called is really important, since we're dealing with quantities and events that are invisible. So since they're invisible, in speaking about them to each other, it's very, very necessary that there be common conventions on what things are called. Then in the third segment of this week, we'll talk about the rules of electricity and solutions. That is a really interesting topic, and you'll enjoy hearing about it. In the second week, in our railroad analogy, we're trying to get some money by selling tickets. In the bioelectricity world, our real world, we're talking about how the membrane gets energy from its surrounding environment. Oh, this is really tricky stuff. And when you understand it, you'll understand something that is marvelous and fantastic and remarkable and really not like electricity as you think of it ordinarily. In week 3, we are really into the study of membranes, and in particular membrane channels. Membrane channels are where ions go through the membrane through special structures which are called channels. The membrane derives its power from this process, and in that sense, channels are analogous on the train to the engine. It is where the energy comes from that makes things happen. In week 4, we talk about action potentials. For many people, action potentials are the heart of bioelectricity. When you understand action potentials, you understand bioelectricity they feel. Here by analogy, I've used the analogy of train cars because action potentials are a series of events like train cars occurring one after another, but not randomly. They're very tightly synchronized. In week 5, we talk about the structure. That is to say, if it's cells or a long axon or whatever, that channels the currents and where they flow. And the way that happens is just absolutely remarkable. In the bioelectricity world, the tissue structure channels the currents so that action potentials occur at one site after another in a chain reaction fashion. This is why an event can propagate along a nerve. This is why a muscle can contract pretty much all at once. And this is why the tissue structure, while not itself electrical, controls what the electricity is doing. It's really very much like a train track. Week 6 involves our train rolling on down the track, or in the bioelectricity sense, propagation. Propagation is where things are happening at one site and then the next and then the next and then the next, just like the train going. It is what really makes bioelectricity significant in a physiological sense. In week 7, we talk about observations of the train going down the track. I mean, this subject is of interest in part because we get to watch it from the outside. So that's the basis of electrocardiograms and the heart electroencephalograms of the brain. Lots of other electrical measurements of electrically active nerves and muscles, excitable tissue. And the fact that you can watch what's happening while never actually penetrating the structure is on the one hand amazing and then on the other hand remarkably useful. And then in the final week of the course, we talk some about the ability to control propagation, to control its initiation, and to stop propagation by means of stimulation. Of course, electrical stimulation possibly is most commonly known in the general public as because of cardiac pacemakers and other kinds of nerve stimulators. It is just a most interesting topic. Essentially, how can you stay outside and yet still influence what happens? So that will be our course. If you look at the weeks taken as a whole, there are 8, of course, and the most important part of the structure of the weeks is probably to realize that in the middle, these topics are like a group where each topic could be done first, but you have to do all 3, and then the collection as a whole is what allows you to talk about propagation. So the first thing we do is to make plans. The next thing we do is to talk about where the energy to do anything comes from. Then we do this group of 3, you might say really into the very heart of the subject, and when we've done those 3, we can talk about propagation. Once propagation is been completed, then it's possible to talk about watching propagation from the outside of the active tissue and control of propagation so as to make it do what you want it to do. So with this picture of the Duke Chapel, we'll close this segment. I think you'll enjoy this course, and I think you'll enjoy each topic individually, and then, of course, the way the topics work when you take them as a whole.